So twice a year, I fold my entire life into two suitcases. And then, pretty much every time I take a moment and pause because I end up asking myself the same question. What was everything else for? I split my life between two countries, in Canada and the Philippines for many reasons, which I've mentioned on a lot of other videos. And I've been doing this now for quite a few years. And it always seems to teach me something new every time I do it, especially because of the vast contrast between the two different places. And it's not just for a single moment. It's actually 6 months and 6 months. So the question I keep asking, because now back in Canada, I've got a lot of stuff I just have in boxes, basically. It's hanging in the closet. it's just extra stuff. And quite honestly, a lot of this stuff is I haven't opened up in years. So of course, none of that stuff comes with me every time I go back and forth. So this isn't really a packing video. It's not going to do 10 hacks of how to pack things. It's more about what really happens when you find out exactly how little you need, and you can't really unlearn something like that. I mean, of course, I bring my basic stuff, my clothing, of course, some of the stuff. I do bring certain stuff, especially for size, for example, because it's harder to find the proper footwear given my size and stuff like that. So these are a couple of important things I got to try and look through. And there's a couple of things that's not as easy to find in other countries. So I bring basically the basics. And then this is pretty much it. This is the whole thing for 6 months, comfortably in a couple of bags. And quite honestly, the very first time I did this, it was really difficult because I had no idea what to bring, how much, I figure I need to bring 10 suitcases. 6 months is a very long time. And you figure, okay, well, you need a lot of items, otherwise you're going to feel kind of left out. And it really made me have that feeling, I must be forgetting something. I got to have this and add it. And on top of that, you've got a weight limit. If anybody's traveled on airplanes, you know how strict they are on that. Can't have very much weight on the carry-on. Your check-in luggage has got to be dead on. If it's over, they extremely charge you a huge amount. And I really thought, okay, when I get there, especially the very first time, I thought I'm going to regret something. I should have gotten this, I should have done this. But that didn't really happen. And here's kind of the actual part that messed with me a little bit here. It wasn't realizing how little I needed. It was actually more realizing how much I brought, that thinking I would. That's a bit of a profound moment when you realize, wait a minute. And when you start summing that all up, I mean, there's only so much that fits in two suitcases and one carry-on. Not a whole heck of a lot. So you got to imagine you're leaving half your life back, wherever you're leaving it back home kind of thing. And it kind of makes me think, maybe most of the stuff isn't for the life I'm actually living. It's kind of like an insurance for the stuff I'm scared I might need someday. Big difference. Now, granted, a lot of the stuff can be seasonal stuff. Yeah, you don't use it all the time. I think it's picture where I'm going in the Philippines, the seasonal stuff is, well, definitely going to be summer clothing versus winter clothing. Now, the more tougher part is the sentimental stuff. I mean, you do have that feeling you want to be at home. So there's a lot of objects, little gadgets and things like that that are extremely sentimental. And you think, okay, I can't bring all of this. But it starts putting a perspective in what actually truly has value. And when you start thinking this on a different level and realizing where you're at in life and what you want for your goals and how you want to be comfortable, the strange thing is a lot of it you don't end up even missing or even really much thinking about. And if you think about it, for 6 months at a time, there's an entire category of stuff that just simply doesn't exist for me, and having to adapt, not having anxiety about it, no maintenance, no decisions. It's just the way it is. And out of sight isn't out of mind. It's out of mental load entirely. So here's kind of what I keep coming back to. If a good life fits in a couple of suitcases twice a year, what is everything else actually doing for me? And I never really thought about a life as a minimalist or, getting away from everything and living out in the middle of nowhere. It's not really about a goal of owning fewer things. It's really noticing the gap between what you actually really need and what you've accumulated. And then what that gap is actually costing you mentally in many ways as well, because you're thinking about how much you actually need it, how much you got to have it with you, or do you actually protect it in some ways as well. The security of everything, don't make sure it doesn't get stolen or lost, broken, all these kind of things. And of course, that kind of weight isn't in boxes, in my suitcases. That kind of weight is in the part of my brain that kept track of everything. And that's a slow mental shift of realizing what's really important, like I've said earlier. And if anybody's really felt anything like that or kind of understand where I'm coming from, I would sure love to hear about in the comments so we can kind of share and compare ideas. And I used to think about, okay, packing light is all about the travel, make the travel convenient. But now I kind of look at it, it's the only honest audit of my life I do twice a year, whether I kind of like the answer or not. because I have to make that decision both times. When I'm coming back, same thing. And this split life actually forces me into really internally looking everything of what I really want or not. And that's something I value much more than what I can tolerate, in the sense of the true essence of everything you own. How much value does it have? How much importance does it have in your life? Do you actually really need it? Not to make the sound over dramatic or completely bang on, but it's almost like everything actually that I need fits in a couple suitcases. Everything else is still something I'm just carrying for, and to some reason, for no reason, if that kind of makes any sense, within a certain amount of boundaries. But that's sort of the conclusion you start coming to when you really split your life half and half. It really does give me the perspective of understanding a lot more differences in our value system. And by these life changes that I've been going through and realizing the importance of it, it's something that I really do like sharing and engaging with others and seeing where they're at in their particular journey. Just a little bit of a tidbit that I thought I'd share with you because I'm getting close to having to repack everything again as well, and thought it'd be an interesting view and point of view. And these are the things I really like to engage in as well. And it is definitely something more uplifting in the sense of realizing how much dead weight everybody seems to carry around. And again, this is not about saying you got to throw everything away and run away and, and have nothing, but it gives you a little bit of stepping outside the wheel of life and looking in from the outside view and seeing what really is important. What do you really need to maintain a very happy, successful, happy surrounding of life? And if any of this connected with you, I'd sure like to hear from it and see where you're at with that. If you got any questions or opinions on that, please leave them in the comments. I really do appreciate your support and following along and your likes and shares and all this kind of stuff. And everybody take care, and we'll see you on the next one.